Salutations, everyone, and welcome to another Thoughts On episode where everything I say is made up and the gameplay doesn't matter. That's right, the gameplay doesn't matter, just like anyone's defense of why NoobTube should be in Call of Duty. It just doesn't matter. So today what I want to be talking about is an always-on internet connection. Of course, this being related to next generation of consoles in that the Durango, aka Xbox 720, aka whatever Microsoft decides to name their next generation console platform, it always requires an internet connection. We've been hearing this. Everything points to this being the case. All the rumors have said this. People who may or may not have worked with Microsoft have talked about this with other various statements that may or may not be containing the words "deal with it." So, and PlayStation 4 is, of course, not going to be going down this route. They are not going to be requiring an always-on connection. So what does this mean? What does an always internet connection mean, and why is it a bad thing? Because it is a bad thing, guys. It is a bad thing, and I'm here to tell you why. I know that's the commonly held belief, so I'm not going to be surprising anyone with this position on the matter. But it's something that needs to be talked about. What is an always-on internet connection? And okay, let's first talk about what it is. In order to play your piece of media, whether that be a game or a console or anything really, you need to have that device or whatever plays that device, be it software or hardware, has to be connected to the internet in order to use that thing. We've seen this most recently as SimCity, where EA made the claim that the game always had to be connected to the internet to work. This, of course, was not true. It was a complete DRM scheme, and the hackers were able to quickly, in a matter of days, just take out one simple line of code, and people were able to play SimCity without the internet connection. And so, you know, they lied. They lied to their consumers that this was a thing that's with the being connected to the servers was absolutely essential, otherwise you wouldn't be able to play the game. It was complete falsity, completely proven, and it was not a good move by EA, nor was it a very good PR move for them, especially since a hacker found out very, very easily how they were in fact lying. And in Diablo 3, we saw this. They always required an internet connection because they didn't want you to play Diablo 3 offline, because otherwise you could hack into the game, you know, pick out the code and duplicate items. The reason being that they didn't want this to happen, even though it was quite fun for doing it in Diablo 1 and 2. I know I'm guilty of that. But the reason that they had that because of the auction house. The auction house, if you do not know, is an application within the game that you could buy and sell items that people find in Diablo. So if you find a sword or armor or something, you can put that up in the auction house to buy and sell with real money. And Blizzard made a portion of every single sale, so they're making money off this auction house, and it would not be good for them from a moneymaker standpoint if people could duplicate and just get any item that they wanted. They wouldn't be making the money that they are making from the auction house now. So, as you can see, it's good for the companies to have the always-on internet connection because of the DRM schemes and stuff like the auction house. It's good for them. So you can see it from a business perspective why companies would want this. But from a gamer's perspective, from a buyer's perspective, it is in fact a terrible, terrible thing. Now let me break it down for you why this is such a terrible thing. You always have to be connected to the internet. Always, 100% of the time, otherwise you cannot play your game. You can't play your games, you can't play on your consoles, no matter what it may be. Whether it's like, wait, I don't need an internet connection to do this on Xbox or PlayStation 3 or 360 or the Wii or whatever. They're going to say, tough cookies, do you need an internet connection to do anything? It doesn't matter if you're not playing online against friends or you're not streaming Netflix, which you need an internet connection at all times to play anyway. So for stuff like that, it's not really a big deal. But in order to play single player campaigns, which don't require an internet connection nowadays, you need to have an internet connection. Or if you're playing download a game like say on Xbox Live Arcade, now all of a sudden you need to be connected to the internet to play anything. And this is a bad thing. Why? First of all, uh, Xbox and in PS3, most of their business is going to be in America. I understand that Sony is really big in Japan, and there's also Europe. But when it comes to the US being the major buyers of these products, of these consoles, it's a terrible thing. And I'll tell you, as an American, the worst, number one, the absolute worst thing about living in America is our internet connection. We are atrocious. We're ranked like 14th in the world in speed and 10th in the world in broadband connections. Only 90% of our population has a broadband connection, and you need that in order to play these games nowadays, or being online, or in the future. And our internet connection speed is terrible. We're ranked 14th in the world. There are some countries, I'm sure some of you younger kids have never even heard of, that have a faster internet connection than America. We invented the internet, and we absolutely suck at giving it to our population. And we suck at giving it at high speeds. Why is this? It's because of the oligopolies. What's an oligopoly? Basically, it's a legal monopoly. If you know from the board game, if you own all of one thing, that is a monopoly. And that is what is happening here, although it's legal. We have absolutely no competition, so the companies they all group together and they say, like in that King of the Hill episode where all the propane people were coming up together, they all jack up their prices and no one undercuts anyone, so they make a whole bunch of money. That's exactly what has happened in America, at least. I'm sure other parts of the country and Europe as well, but all the internet companies went together, say, all right, let's all have really high prices, all have pretty slow speeds, and we'll just make a shit ton of money. And they're like, yeah, that's a fucking awesome idea. So that's exactly what has happened. The speeds are absolutely atrocious, and there are very few people out there that provide internet connections to people. Where I live, there's only one way to get high-speed internet, and that is through Comcast. It's the only one. They have the monopoly, but it's not illegal, so you call it an oligopoly. So Comcast has zero incentive to lower the price because there's no one else to compete with them. And they also have zero incentive to increase their internet speed or have better customer service or anything like that. Now, I'm sure for a lot of people, no matter what internet provider they have, Time Warner, Comcast, Verizon, Fios, or Google Fiber, if you're a motherfucker, and I'm so fucking jealous of you, are happy with their internet service providers, and you don't experience very many problems day to day. That's perfectly fine. Good for you. I'm happy for you. I'm also very jealous, and I wish everyone could be in the same situation as you are. But that's just not the way that it is in this day and age. Only 90% of our population can get a broadband connection, which is needed for this. So let's say you live in a not so good area where you can't get a good internet connection. You can still buy an Xbox 360 or a PS3 and play Uncharted or Battlefield or Mass Effect, Borderlands, Halo, Gears of War, Assassin's Creed, Dead Space. You could play all these single player campaigns without having to worry about an internet connection, because that's only for multiplayer stuff. And sure, you can't get DLC and all the other stuff too, but for the most part, you can play most games that are out there. Also, let's say you're not on the mainland. Let's say you're on a ship. Let's say you're serving in the military. As my father did, he would take the Super Nintendo and go onto the ship and play games that way. If you don't have a reliable internet connection on those ships for those people serving in the military, you're not going to be able to play games. I know some of them have good, decent internet. Some of them have shitty internet. Some of them have really unreliable internet because of, they're moving and shit. And they're on the fucking water. So they're not going to be able to play the new game that comes out on the Xbox 720 with any sort of certainty that they'll be able to play it. The same thing goes for people, just normal, regular people who have these internet packages through whatever huge conglomerate that they pay to. If the internet ever goes out, you're fucked. You can't play anything. You can't play multiplayer, single player, Xbox Live Arcade, Netflix, none of that shit. You can't play any of it if the internet goes down. That's something we deal with today, which is terrible. But if the internet ever goes down while I'm playing Black Ops, I could always hop onto the campaign or play, uh, Minecraft offline. That's I always have options. In the future, we're not gonna have those options. Also, what happens when the servers go down that control these games? You're fucked. Maybe you have the best internet in the world, you have a great connection, you have these great games, but there's something wrong on the company's end, on Microsoft's end, or whatever company that they're, facilitating internet connections with. What happens when their shit goes down? We saw this in SimCity. People could not play the game that they paid for. This is going to be the future, whether you like it or not. Sure, not all the time, but some of the time. And some of the time is not good enough. That is way too much. It should be 0% of the time. And we're going to be fucked. This is also going to be a bad move for Microsoft since Sony is not going to be taking this route. So while it is going to be a very small and for some an insignificant portion of buyers going to Sony for the PS4 because it doesn't always require an internet connection over Microsoft, while that is going to be a small percentage of people, you're still going to be losing money, Microsoft, and that's something I know you're not going to be a fan of. So it doesn't make sense as a whole because of the oligopolies of internet connections, how we have shitty internet speeds, how we have no choices in large portions of the market in which Microsoft is trying to sell their product to. It's not a good move. It's not good for us, and we're going to be seeing more nightmares like what happened in SimCity or at the launch of Diablo 3. We're going to be seeing a lot more of that in the best case scenario. Worst case scenario, we're going to see even more problems like that. We're going to see different problems, major connection issues. And that's something that this country and many other countries are not ready for, just because of the infrastructure and the way that technology has progressing and the way that business has gotten in the way of that. So those are just my thoughts on the subject, people. I would love to hear your comments below, pros and cons and stuff I didn't talk about, or if you love bagels, you could talk about that also. So hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you next time.